All right, hey, welcome back, my friends. We have some terrible news. This past Sunday, the Taliban overthrew Bagram Air Base. Now, this is arguably the most fortified and defensible location in Afghanistan. So if it can be taken, the rest of the country doesn't have much of a chance in standing. And that's exactly what we're seeing. Cities are falling quickly to the Taliban, to include the capital and seat of government in Kabul. I personally worked out of Bagram Air Base during my 4 combat tours as an Army Ranger, and I remember the base well, and I'm horrified that the base is now in the hands of terrorists. I'm even more horrified at what this takeover means. In this video, we'll be discussing 5 of the major consequences of the fall of Bagram Air Base, Afghanistan in general, as well as the Biden administration's decision to withdraw in general.
To the other breaking news, President Biden announcing he is sending additional troops into Afghanistan to help evacuate U.S. Embassy personnel.
The evacuation is urgent because the Taliban are closing in rapidly. Overnight, the Taliban captured more cities near Kabul.
The Taliban has captured a key city near the capital of Afghanistan and continues to advance in the region.
The Taliban.
The Taliban.
Welcome back. Here are the 5 major consequences of the Taliban's return to power in Afghanistan. Number 1, the Taliban have been hunted and painstakingly imprisoned over the last 20 years. That's at the cost of a lot of American blood and sweat, as well as the blood and sweat of foreign militaries we work with, to include freedom fighters from Afghanistan. Now that the Taliban have been liberated by their terrorist brothers, they're going to keep doing what terrorists have always done, spreading terror around the globe. In short, the recent release of the thousands of bad guys will absolutely result in the death of thousands of good guys. Devastating attacks like 9/11 are going to happen again. Number 2, caches of U.S. weapons were seized by the Taliban. That's Humvees, sniper rifles with awesome scopes and night vision, machine guns, M4s, and a lot more. Now, our enemy will literally be able to use our own weapons against us on a scale they never could before. This means not only have we released thousands of dangerous terrorists, we've also armed them with our own weapons. Number 3, peaceful Afghanis trying to flee the Taliban's hostile takeover of their homeland are finding the airports locked down and the roads blocked. Peaceful Muslims who have seen decades-long evil of the Taliban killing, raping, and torturing sons and daughters are now bracing for a far worse wave of tyranny. For 2 decades, the people have been able to live safer because of U.S. involvement. I remember developing relationships with Afghanis. I remember seeing incredible amounts of humanitarian aid that we brought to those in dire poverty and sickness. I personally saw a lot of good given to innocent Afghanis who have been left to fend for themselves under powerful terrorists. That's really bad. Number 4, the morale of the Taliban is now very high. That emboldens them to action. In a matter of weeks, think about this, they've taken over their country, gained incredible wealth, gained weapon caches past their wildest dreams, and sent the United States into a retreat from our own embassy. That's right, just like Saigon and Benghazi, we're now fleeing our own embassy. And meanwhile, the Taliban sees us, their greatest enemy, playing woke games under the leadership of a president whom they perceive as incredibly weak and incompetent. And an emboldened enemy with a high morale means they're going to be gearing up for more and more attacks. And more attacks mean more innocent lives taken. It just does. Now, finally, number 5. We've signaled to the rest of the world that we lack the resolve to fight. I believe that this consequence may be the worst of all, in that the world has seen us as a military superpower for generations. Even if we have the technology and budget to be a superpower, if we don't have the military leadership and political courage to use as assets to keep our enemies at bay, all the weapons in the world aren't going to do us any good. It's like Alexander the Great once said, that he was not afraid of an army of lions led by a sheep, but he would be afraid of an army of sheep led by a lion. I don't know if we're lions now, but we're definitely led by sheep. We have become a hypersensitive, easily offended, and fragile to the point that other nations now see us as a joke. But still, they can see us as a joke protected by like nuclear submarines and F-22 jets, so they can laugh, but They'll probably keep their distance still. But now with the retreat of Afghanistan, they're likely thinking our leadership lacks the intestinal fortitude to even use our own weapons. So awesome, now we're a joke with greatly weakened defenses. We, after all, even lack the fortitude to secure our own borders. It's like we're inviting wolves and offering ourselves on a platter. We need strong and non-PC military leadership now, and this is super serious business. Now, some people out there don't like the consequences that I've just told you, but they'll still maintain it's a good thing for the U.S. to withdraw from Afghanistan. As a personal note, I would like to not be at war with Afghanistan either. Now, the Biden administration thinks it's a good idea to withdraw our troops, and that's why we saw the progress of 2 decades of war in Afghanistan unravel in a month. But when the narrative is that the United States is a bully nation that conquers foreign governments in order to steal from them, then the best thing we can do as a country is to stop being tyrants and immediately withdraw from foreign nations, right? Well, there's a couple of serious problems to this line of thinking. All right, so the first reason we shouldn't have withdrawn our forces from Afghanistan at this time is because the Afghani people and government have been counting on us and relying on our presence so they could build a country strong enough so the Taliban couldn't overthrow it. They were not ready for our withdrawal, as we plainly see in the quick Taliban takeover of major parts of the country, to include the critical target area of Bagram Air Base. We may want to see terrorists dead, but not as much as a lot of Afghanis want to see them dead. They've watched decades as Taliban and Al-Qaeda have beheaded their men, thrown acid in the faces of women, and raped boys and girls. I'm not being sensationalistic. This is normal stuff in Afghanistan. I have personally fought shoulder to shoulder with some of these victimized Afghanis. I've become friends with the interpreters we hired. I played with their kids, and I remember giving them Kim lights and candy. Our government has doled out hundreds of millions of dollars in humanitarian aid. Our medics have healed thousands of Afghanis. And all while our woke college kids, who have never stepped foot in Afghanistan, claim that we're all evil tyrants who conquer foreign nations just to steal from them. Now, of course, those college kids are idiots and they don't know history enough to know why America is deserved of some special praise. When we conquer fallen nations, we help them get back on their feet, or at least this is the goal, and hand them back over to their own democratically elected officials that are capable of playing nice with the rest of the world. Doesn't mean we always do it well, but it just means that's the general goal. We are also the most charitable nation on the face of the planet. This is a fact established by looking at the amount of foreign aid we distribute around the globe every year. We don't give away hundreds of millions of dollars just to steal their oil. Furthermore, unlike the Roman Empire, the Persian Empire, even the more recent British Empire, when we beat a people in war, we don't keep the country as a piece of the United States. We haven't added Vietnam as a foreign state or territory to us. We didn't add Germany or Japan or Panama or Grenada or Laos, Cambodia, Cuba, North Korea. These are not part of the United States. Now, we could have conquered and kept, but we didn't. We handed the keys back, and that's something that countries hardly ever seem to do throughout the history of the world. The fact of the matter is we don't want to conquer the world. We just don't want to see holocausts. We don't like genocides. Guys, we didn't even want to enter into World War II. But then Japan had to wage a surprise war on us, destroy Pearl Harbor, and all while the Germans worked constantly to make an atom bomb to use against us. We're never really starting these fights, these wars. We simply retaliate to win. Now, I want to back up and be careful to not communicate that the U.S. is always some beacon for good virtue. I don't believe that at all. I think we have our own growing list of evils, and we have a lot of work to do. But compared to many conquering empires over the ages, and especially compared to the Taliban, we're doing all right. Certainly, we're doing far better than the terrorists we're doing for Afghanistan. Now, the second reason why we shouldn't withdraw our troops from Afghanistan at this time is because the best defense against Taliban and Al-Qaeda attacks around the world is to keep them busy on their own soil. Military minds understand that the best defense is a good offense. If you're going to allow the terrorist organizations that flew planes in the two towers to plan, then you're going to see more and more horrific attacks on innocent people around the globe. I don't want the global war on terrorism to go on. I don't. And neither do you. And neither do our troops overseas or their families. But terrorism in this day and age of jets and chemical weapons and nuclear ones, guys, we cannot afford to let them stop hiding in their caves. Evil never sleeps. And so goodness has always got to be ready to wage war against it. Guys, that's it for today. Haters, I want you to go ahead and do what you always do. Jump into the comments and mention, I know nothing about history and my logic is flawed. And you alone have the grasp on it. I get it. For the rest of you guys, my friends, make sure you give this video a like. Share, make sure that you haven't been unsubscribed and that notifications bell has been turned to all. When big tech finally does cancel us for thinking differently than they do, we're going to be continuing through our WPSN app. Check it out today, sign up today and support the Warrior Post Society movement. And lastly, here is a sneak peek of one of our new shows we just launched on our WPSN streaming service. See you guys.
Today we're going to be training with Shuki Dre. Intercept and cut the muscle. Now that you understand what knife can do, now we can truly start the classes. One of the toughest guys I know. Bro, he's able to do almost everything, you know? He's great with the knife. It was the guy who made me look like if I was a 5-year-old kid when I moved with him. He can put you into very deep pain. I know you guys are gonna enjoy his masterclass.